Anup sir, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, right. Hi, everyone. I am Anup Kulkarni, and I just graduated recently. And I was from Nilgiri Hostel ME1 branch. So I interned at Bajaj Auto in last summer, and I sat in placements, and I got in Wipro Infrastructure. So both of them are co-related companies, and that's what we are going to talk about today. What makes or breaks a core CV? So should I go on? I mean, Aditya, anything else you have to add?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please go on.
All right. So I can already guess that a lot of you must be surprised that all of a sudden CV deadline and everything came upon you. And if you have been talking with your friends, probably you might have been aware that something like this goes on in IIT. But even if you do not, and if this is your first time ever writing something on a blank piece of paper and trying to write a CV of your own, then that is completely understandable as well. So what I will try to do is just walk you through what a basic CV looks like. Why do you need a CV in the first place? And certain formatting tips or certain ways in which you can write whatever you have done so far. What if you do not have enough points? RPORs and EC is important. So I will try to address all of these questions uh, in my talk. And then as we go along, after I have said what I had to say, we'll open the floor for Q&A, and then you can shoot whatever questions you have. I hope that sounds good. So before we move on, I think participants have they can raise their hands, right, Aditya?
Yes, sir. Participants can raise their hands.
Okay, so before going ahead, I just want to get a quick idea of how many of you belong to ME1 or ME2 branches. If you could raise your hands, probably. All right, so we have 50 or so people in this meeting, and around, okay, 10 to 15, I would say. Chemical, okay, ME1, ME2 can put their hands down. Chemical. Okay, all right. I see. Uh, okay, so I mean, most of my tips will be very general, and then we'll try to address specific questions towards the later stages of the talk. So, firstly, I would like to begin with what is the importance of a CV? Why do you need a CV in the first place? So, just bear with me, even if you think you know all of these things. I just want to create sort of a coherent narrative so that you understand what we are trying to build exactly. So, what so why would you need a CV in the first place? So the idea basically is that there are recruiters from different companies who come to campus for internships, and so they are searching for people with a certain skill set, right? And then they cannot take each and everyone's interview because in any batch there are about 1200 1300 students, and it is not feasible to take the interviews of all students. So CV is sort of a piece of paper in which you just express what all you have done so far, what kind of skill sets you have, and the recruiter will try and see if it matches with what he needs and if they should shortlist you for an interview. And so it's sort of a screening process. And in the interview, which is the last stage after, so usually what happens is that the OCS portal will open, you'll have to apply it to the companies. There will be shortlists based on CVs, based on CGPA, or companies might have their own tests, or it could be a combination of both. And then after that, once you've cleared the test or certain criteria that they have, then they'll do a CV shortlist, and then you'll be able to appear for the interview. So it's sort of a 2-3 stage process. So the CV, in essence, only comes into the picture after you have cleared the written test, and then there is sort of a CV shortlist, and in the interview, of course. So when an interviewer is going through the CV, they should be able to see what you have done so far, what sort of projects you have done, what skills you have gathered, what technical platforms you have known. Have you worked with ANSYS or SolidWorks or the like? So your CV should be organized in the structure that it is at least able to communicate all that you have done and all the skills that you possess. So keeping this as the backbone of whatever we'll talk about. Uh, and then obviously so the OCS formalities takes place. Let's say the deadline is 30th, so you fill everything that you want to write in the CV by 30th, and then OCS will close the window and take a few days for verification. So what happens in verification is that so you are also supposed to upload proofs of whatever you have written in the CV. And if they find any discrepancy, they'll flag your CV, and then they'll flag your CV. It will be visible on your portal, and it will be reopened for you. So you can make changes wherever you think there could have been some discrepancy. So that verification happens, and then only the verified CV is visible to the recruiters when they try to shortlist and so on. So, right. So I want to conduct this session with the help of a model CV that I have, in which I have highlighted uh, certain do's and don'ts. So I'm just gonna share my screen now. Just give me a moment. All right. I hope my screen is visible. Aditya, can you confirm, please?
Yes, sir, I can see it.
Amazing. All right. So this is how it looks like. I mean, I think most of you must have opened your portal at least once by now, I hope. And so what are the basic sections? So this is a very standard format, and everyone's CV will look like this. Now you might think that why am I saying this in the first place is because in some other IITs you're allowed to customize your own CV, the pattern, the font, color, and everything. But at least in IIT Delhi, all of it is fixed. So your name appears here, and then there is a photo of yours which you'll upload. So the photo, let's go section by section. So I'll cover each and everything. So the photo, if you don't have a photo yet, so I would suggest that wear a coat or a blazer, put on a tie, white shirt, very rudimentary formal attire. And I would suggest that put the photo, capture it if you don't have it already, but use a photo which looks formal. Don't put a photo in your t-shirt or very casual attire, which will just immediately, because it's right off the bat, it's visible when you open the CV. So that is, you do not want to create a bad impression, right? By appearing informal or non-serious about it. So your photo, I hope that is clear. Then you have the academic details, which cannot be changed more or less. So your GPA appears by default, and I think both of these also appear by default. I don't remember, but yeah, there is not much change that you can do in the academic detail section. And then usually for a core CV, you have scholastic achievements, you have projects and internships if you have done that. So usually internships comes above projects, and then you have PORs and ECAs if you want to add. So in a core CV, this is usually the order, the same order. So academic details, scholastics, internships, if you have any, projects, PORs, and ECAs. So let's go section by section, try to see what has been done right in this CV, what has been done wrong. And then we'll discuss certain general tips for each section as well. So for the scholastic achievements, what kind of things can you include in scholastic achievements? So these could be let's say certain scholarships that you have been awarded could be KVPY if you are given that, some regional scholarships, MHRD scholarships. If you have a DR, if you have a merit certificate, semester certificate, if you have been in the top 7% sort of a list. So DR is something you would definitely want to include if you have a DR in top 5 of the department. And then there are just a lot of general things that you can write. So this award, you don't know what kind of award this is, what level award this is, but still as a scholastic achievement, this passes because it shows that okay, this guy has some academic merit, and based on that he has been awarded this thing. So it's not really very people won't go into detail of how much money you have won or what is the name of the scholarship, but something there. So ideally I would say 3 or 4 points at least if you can scrape through, and about 5 to 6, 5 I think is the ideal number for scholastic achievements. I've also seen mm, people include like if letter of recommendations or something that they have received from a certain professor. But I would always recommend that you ask that professor first before writing it as a scholastic achievement, because they may not want you to advertise it to any company in general. So you can also write that I received LOR from XYZ prof for top 10%. If you got an A grade, A minus grade, top 10, 20% performance in this course. But I would highly, strongly suggest you to just get the approval from the professor first. Apart from that, any NTSE or those sorts of exams, I would like generally try to avoid it because it's too early. I mean, you realize, so it's been already 4 years since you passed your 10th grade, if I'm correct. Yeah. So it's been 4 years already, and NTSE and so on were exams in the school. So they are sort of things of the past. So in any case, if you're not able to find anything, you can go ahead. You can write about school Olympiads. I've seen people do that as well. And I guess it's all right. I mean, doesn't really matter as much because at least ensure that your first couple of 2, 3 points are strong enough, and then last couple can just pass, right? Uh, I hope the scholastic sections is clear. So scholastic, what it means is mostly your academia, what kind of, GPA and sort of things. So it's supposed to reflect your academic intellect. So anything around that you can always include. Then we have, let's say, the internship section. So it's not there in the CV, but I would still want to cover it for any of you who are doing an internship right now or did it in the first year. So it's not really mandatory, I would say. So if even if you don't have an internship, I would suggest don't stress too much about it because I mean honestly, a lot of companies don't expect you to have an internship because you have just finished your first year, and then before second year could be finished, you could hardly get a flavor of what core subjects look like. You have been thrust into this process of getting an internship and so on. So if you have an internship, so it could be so usually the kind of internships that you would do in the first year. So they could be very simple ones like social media marketing and so on. So if it's something of that sort which is not relevant at all to a core profile, then I would suggest that you just don't write it at all because if you don't write something versus you write something which is not relevant, then it might not really create a strong impression. That's what I feel. So you could just avoid it in such case. But if it's, let's say, you worked at a startup on something very basic, it could be like a research thing that they allotted to you. That so some of you might be doing research interns as well. So these can be included in the internship sections along with professors, Sura, or anything that you're doing. I think that can come either under internships or projects. Sura, I would suggest projects, but any research intern or something like that with a foreign prof or prof in IIT, then you can include it in the research intern. So how would you write a research internship? It would look actually very similar to what a project looks like. So let's talk about projects and internships simultaneously. So projects and research internships. So firstly, you would want to mention the title of the project that you're working on. So, title of the project followed by the professor and the duration for which you have worked on the project. So this builds sort of a background of what the project is, who you have done it with, how long it is. So if you have just been doing it for 2 months, then the interviewer knows that obviously you're not very well acquainted with the topics that are there. So they'll give you a bit of a leeway. But if you mention like 6 months or something, then they expect you to know each and everything that you've written there. So uh, once you finish the first line, so this first line, I think by default appears in bold. So I'll also give formatting tips side by. So this will also by default appear in bold. And same for scholastics. Once you, this pointer, whatever indicates, the title of the scholastic achievement, that will by default appear in bold. So just give me a second. Right. So what are you trying to convey while writing a project? So I believe that there are 3 points that you must absolutely try to convey through while writing any project. So that would be what is the project about. So let's see. So the first line should always be what the project is about. So here, for instance, it says that it formulated a cost benefit model using IBM Simplex, whatever, optimizing total cost of vaccine supply chain throughout India. Okay. So now I know this deals something about the total cost of vaccine supply. This is an optimization sort of a project. So IBM Simplex is sort of a solver that you use in Python. Okay. So that is broadly what the project is about. Then you write what you did. So what was the work that you did? What tools did you use? Something of that sort. So here it is written that acquired and cleaned the data. So that is what you have done. Because what could happen is that you may not be leading an entire project on your own, right? You might be given a certain sub part of it. And the title of it in entirety could be vaccine supply chain through India. But you have been allotted just a small section of it. You have to fine tune a machine learning model or optimize a small certain subsection of it. So You have to be very precise about what you have done exactly in it. And then, so here it has very cogently been mentioned that they acquired and cleaned the different parameters and did XYZ things, right? And the third line is sort of optional, and you could write like what were the outcomes. So I would suggest you to write the outcomes if you have any, as to, okay, so we did this and the result was this when we employed the machine learning model on this data set, which was uh, previously never done. We found out that there was an XYZ%, this sort of trends were established. So if you are able to show what outcome came out of the project, then that will be really great, because that shows what was the practical relevance of a project. So one thing that is missing in this project, so the red ones are the ones which you're not supposed to follow, like as examples. So in the green ones as well, one thing I would like to highlight is that try to include numbers. That we so if it's, let's say, a research project regarding, so some of you might be studying thermodynamics, so research projects, let's say, regarding efficiency of a gas turbine engine. So you did some research and you found out that using certain XYZ materials, you can boost the efficiency by, let's say, 0.5%. So 0.5% is a huge number for increasing efficiency, by the way. So if you're able to quantify it, whatever outcomes there were, or any data that you collected, if you're able to quantify it, that we talked to 40,000 customers, this is the size of the data set that we had, or something, in some form, if you're able to include numbers, then that makes it way easier for the interviewer to you know, just get an idea of what the project is about. So in the same way, you can light 2 or 3 projects. So internships plus projects combined, I would say at least 3 should be there on your CV. Because what happens is that once you sit for an interview, most of the interview will revolve around what kind of projects you have done. So they don't ask you anything out of the blue, which you have never even heard about in your entire life. But they will look at your CV, they'll try to ask basic questions. Okay, what did you do in this project? What is this tool? How does this change? Let's say if I make certain changes in data set, then what do you think will be the changes in trend and so on? So a lot of interviews based around your CV. So make sure that whatever you have written is truthful, at least to a great extent that you're able to explain it. And also you have certain numbers which can act as hinges in the interview. So make it a bit easy for the interviewer to read about it, right? So internships plus projects combined, as I said, 3 in all, at least 3. So what are you supposed to avoid? So let's look at the pointers in red. Just want to zoom in a little bit. So, so this one, for instance, SWOT analysis for revitalizing cow husbandry, marketability of milk, and also proposed novel bio-waste collection. So this is a very, very superficial description, if you see, right? SWOT analysis. So strength, weakness is sort of an analysis. And then what is the outcome? What what are the exact, metrics that I should be looking for? What is the use of this project? So a SWOT analysis could be done very simply by a Google search. Why would that even count as a project? Anyone can do it. Why are you in IIT doing? So those sorts of questions will obviously come in the mind of an interviewer if you just very superficially write it. So this is what you want to avoid. A very superficial and a shallow description of your project in a single line. Also, you see that a formatting tip here would be, so this is the title of the project, SWOT analysis, which is in bold. And then for revitalizing cow husbandry, this is also part of the title, but it is not bold. So SWOT analysis just by itself is not a project. It's just a mental model. It's just a model that you apply. SWOT analysis can be applicable for anything. So your title should be very clearly expressing what exactly is being covered in the project. And then one thing I would suggest you to refrain from is going over to the second line. So you do not want to use 2 lines for the same point. So just try to somehow fit it into a single one. Ask ChatGPT to shorten it to, let's say, 10, 12 words, how much ever words fit in a line. Ask ChatGPT to do that. Do some iterations by yourself. But just avoid going to the second line, because usually you will have very, very, if you have very, very long points, and the interviewer finds it very hard to, carry it on till the end of the second line. And they'll just lose interest. It looks ill formatted. So that is definitely something you want to avoid. So here as well. So quantifying manner of exercises using ML algorithms. So, so here it is a course project in data science specialization. The name of professor would have been better. So May 2016, the dates, the duration can be expressed properly. So even if you have something that you've done on your own, so it could be a self project too, right? So something that you have done over the course of a week or a couple of weeks, I would still suggest that you express it in a way that shows that you have given it certain time, at least a couple of months, which shows that okay, you have given it sufficient time. So here, so what the problem here is that the person here has expressed a lot of terms, which I'm not really sure. So data cleaning, explanatory analysis, variance inflation, and PC on human activity recognition data using R. So these are a lot of jargonic terms. So when you write sort of these things, the interviewer will expect you to know in detail what each and every word means out of this. So they could ask you what is variance inflation, and you should be able to explain it. So not necessarily they might not pinpoint and ask what variance inflation is, but something around it, which might betray the fact that you don't know what variance inflation is. So you don't want to come off as someone who doesn't know what they have written on their CV, because it creates sort of a very bad impression that you are a liar and then you're not honest in your work. So it's much better always to just be honest and write whatever you know. Probably step a little bit over the line, but don't punch too much above your weight. That it might be very obvious that something is wrong here, right? And then so this is for the project section. So I hope I have made it clear. So I'll just recap it quickly. So title should be very short and concise. Professor, duration. So first line is standard. Then there are three things that you would want to include. What is the project about? What tools did you use? And what were the outcomes? If you can have numbers and quantifiers, then that is always better. But don't try to fake them, because the interview might be able to see them through. If they are an expert in their field, then they can easily see that you have faked a lot of things. So instead of efficiency increasing by 0.5%, if you write 2%, then they know that it's sort of a breakthrough, which is very, very difficult at this point. And they will realize that you are faking it and you have not really done it at all. So it is always better to uh, think what kind of numbers you're putting there. So by this, so far you have, like, let's say 4 or 5 points in your scholastic achievements, projects and internships combined, three at least, 4 or 5 at max. So, so in a core CV, the kind of projects that you would want to include. So you can include, any sort of course projects if you have done. So if you don't have any external projects as such, or you have just a single external project or Sura or something of that sort, then you might want to include a project, which can be, a professor might have given you like a 15 mark research paper to like research paper review to write, that you have been given a certain topic, you do literature review and then write a project and then submit it as a part of your course. So that is also fine, because that counts as sort of a literature review, sort of pseudo research. So that is fine. I mean, they don't expect you to have done actual PhD level research anyway. So that is something you can include. Apart from that, internships, I think we have already covered. What not to cover is more important: social media marketing, influencer, all those kind of things. Campus ambassador program, just avoid all of those things because they are not relevant at all. Uh, any doubts you all have will be covered later. So just keep them on hold for now. Now moving on to PORs and ECAs. First question would be, are they really important? So the short answer to it is it sort of depends. I mean, uh, but I would say it doesn't really matter as much. So a lot of you who might not be having PORs or ECAs, that's all right. If you have good PORs, then you can always include 2 or 3 PORs that you have. And ECAs, it just depends on you. If you really have a lot to show in the ECAs, then you can. So here, for instance, you can easily fill up a lot of space using the ECAs. You can write couple of PORs, not much. You don't have to write every small POR that you had. So ACK head or team head or something of those sorts, which doesn't have a lot of substantial work. You can include 1 or 2 lines, but that's it. I would suggest that don't waste a lot of space writing all of that. Well, of course, if you don't have enough projects or internships, then you might want to show that you are sort of a holistic person because you have PORs and ECAs. So that was so in some sense I fell into this bracket that I had uh, a lot of PORs and ECAs in some sense. And my projects were also there, but they were not as many as to be able to fill an entire, page with a proper allocation to the projects. So what I did was I tried to show them, I tried to weave the narrative that, so I was a convener as well. So I tried to show them that I worked for the department, I made XYZ, connections, meetings with the profs, and tried to ensure that the curriculum was enhanced and so on. So it is also an art, the way in which you are able to express your PORs, because it might not be, very directly visible to them. How does it affect, how is it beneficial for them that you hold a POR? So if you're, let's say, captain of the cricket hostel team, as has been written here. So if, let's say, it's a core company who wants you to work, so Bajaj, for instance, let's take Bajaj or Jaguar Land Rover, let's say. So Jaguar is a leading four-wheeler brand in India, abroad. So do you think they really care that you were the captain of your cricket hostel team? Maybe not. I mean, it's not very, very directly relevant, right? But then again, if you want to write it, if that is something that is really, you feel that you want to put it there, then you have to show that you were sort of the pillar of the team, that you created mechanisms where freshers were able to participate, that you are a team player. So you try to sell yourself that you're a team player. I've led this team. We won, let's say, a podium in the inter hostel, inter IIT, XYZ things. So you want to express whatever space you're using on the CV, just make sure that every word, every sentence tells them something meaningful about you. And it's not redundant. That if I remove cricket captain hostel team, captain cricket hostel team, then doesn't make a difference. That should not be the case. So you do not want redundancies in your CV. So uh, so this again could be a standard format. So the first line is the title of the POR that you have had. Then this italics is optional. So if you have been elected, if you were the house secretary, definitely something you would want to mention that you are elected and you have secretaries under you, you have reps under you. So this is very well written, elected by 500 residents and so on. And then you would want to highlight what were the important initiatives. So if you, let's say, have been newly elected as a maintenance secretary or, the sports secretary and so on, what are the kind of initiatives that you would want to incorporate in your tenure? Uh, what are the different sports that sort of you're representing on the hostel level and so on? So those are the kind of things you would want to express. ECAs again, it is like a very subjective thing. I would say that if you have a lot of ECAs, something like this, if you have been consistently associated with any club, Lid, Depsoc, or any sports as well. I mean, could be a lot of things. So I guess you should definitely go ahead and put your ECAs, because it shows that not only you are someone who's strong at academics, but there is also certain another dimension to you. So they might, if it is an alumni who is coming to interview, then they might definitely get interested. Oh, you played cricket? I also played cricket. And something like that could, strike up a conversation, and you never know what the interviewer might really find in you. So definitely try to fit in a few extracurriculars as well. What I have seen is that people try to include NSS extracurriculars, or, could be all over the place, could be business competitions that you won, even if you're, let's say, case competitions, even if you're not strictly associated with a single club. Ideally, you would want your achievements in PORs and ECS to like go in sync, go in sort of a tandem that expresses that, okay, this person, apart from having done certain projects, is also like an active personality uh, otherwise in co-curricular activities, right? So how to not write it? So these red ones are a very good example of it. So here, creative activity head rendezvous. So firstly, this is a POR. So this should not be in an EC in the first place. And then this format is not consistent with what has been used for other PORs. So stick to a single date format. So all of these small things will matter a lot. So formatting I'll come to later, but I'm just trying to point it out here. But it is not consistent. So here just the year is written. Here the month and the year is completely written. So based on the kind of space that you have above as well, you can stick to a certain format. So you might want to not include the 20 if you have a space crunch, then you can just put apostrophe 19, oct 19, June 20, and so on. But be very consistent with what kind of format you are sticking to, right? Because it needs to finally be very pleasing to the eye. because once you see the CV, it is a very black and white piece of paper. So if it is very neatly formatted, then the employer also feels a bit good trying to read the CV. Then dramatics. So the way in which it is presented is very wrong. So participated in street play at inter-hostel level. So if you have dramatics, what I would suggest, what I would myself have done, let's say, is that I would have put dramatics here. I would have, let's say, written in italics, been an active member of the club for the past 2 years or something. Or if you have a POR related to that, in my capacity as a drama rep or something. And then you can write different awards that you have won in sort of a sequential manner. So you have podium finishes along with the dramatics team. You could write that. So you could write participation in a street play at inter-hostel level. So participation is a very vague term. So I would suggest that ECA's participation should be sort of the last priority. If you have a podium, then it's the best. But sort of participation is also fine, but then that comes lower down in the order of ECAs that you have mentioned. And then so I hope that is clear. So this is sort of the format that you would want to adhere to. So if you have, let's say, case comms, you're an avid participator of case comms, or let's say aero modeling competitions, or any sort of mechanical design competitions, anything it could be. So if you're able to come up with 2 or 3 good points which show that okay, this person does participate a lot in these kind of events. So yeah, he must be really good in it. She must be really good in it. So that is the kind of perspective that you want to develop. Uh, and finally, one of points like these, the Art of Living Youth Empowerment and Skills Workshop. So, firstly, there is a lot of white space here, so which is not really in sync with all the things that you've written. So, towards the end, the CV looks extremely bland if you try to look at it. There is a lot of white space and just looks extremely weird, not aesthetically appealing as such. So first thing is, if you're writing this, if you're forced to write this to cover the white space, just try to write something else about it. What was that workshop about? What did you learn or something? So that it is at least, it fits in with all of the rest of the ECAs and the formatting style. So that's all I think I have about the ECAs and PORs. So again, not very important, but if you can mention, let's say 2 PORs and let's say 5, 6 ECAs, 3 PORs, whatever kind of balance suits as per your CV, as per profile, that would be really great. So it sort of shows that you're a balanced person throughout. So going over it again, you have the academic details, which are not really changeable much. Then you have the scholastic achievements, where you try to include all of the academic achievements you have. Could be department rank, LORs, examination ranks, various scholarships you have been awarded. Internships and projects. Internships could be corporate or research both. Then you have projects in which I explained it to you how to write it. What are the 3 sort of things that you want to include? What the project is about? What tools did you use? What data did you use? And what are the outcomes of the project? Numbers are always better. Then we have PORs and ECAs, 2 or 3 PORs and 5 or 6 ECAs, sort of a. So that's how an ideal CV will look like. Now, so just before we move on to the Q&A, final few inputs are that, so now what will the interviewer, so once you give them your CV, once you sit in the interview, so what they will focus upon is that they'll first usually try to ask you about yourself, they'll ask you to give an introduction. So I mean, a lot of these are interview tips, but you should be very well versed with your introduction. So you should not fumble and say there that I also like music, dramatics, tennis, swimming, and all of these things, which sort of show that sort of a juvenile attitude. But you want to mention a couple of things which, that you are pursuing academically, which show that you have interest in the curriculum that you are studying. Then you mention a couple of hobbies that you have. If you have any project that you are currently working on, any internship that you have recently worked upon, so when they ask your introduction, you're not supposed to say, I am from here or I did my 10th from here and so on. They are more interested in what kind of a personality in a job setting you would have. So try to make it molded in that way. Then they will usually come to your projects. Scholastic achievements are just for reading. They won't ask you questions on that. So they directly come to internships and projects, then grill you about that. What did you do in this internship? How did you collect this data? What are the difficulties you faced? A classic question could be, so development and analysis of network flow problem. So, what is a network flow problem? How do you think it will be applicable for our company? How do you think you can use this model, use your insights, and so on? So, bulk of the attention is always on internships, projects, and so on. PORs and ECAs here and there, they might ask a couple of questions, but trust me, it will mostly be around internships and projects. So make sure that you are very, very precise in what you write in your internships and projects and are very well versed with it as well. Don't mention jargon that you don't know what it means. Just be very realistic. And even if it's a bit simple, I personally believe that is okay. That is all right. So I am done on my behalf. So let's open the floor for questions. Aditya, if that's possible.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your valuable insights. Now we'll be moving to a Q&A session. So all of you who have a doubt can raise their hands. I'll unmute you for your question. Okay, Prashant Kumar, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
So is the chat enabled? I think meanwhile, we might put the question in
Yeah,
chat.
chats. Okay, yeah, chat is also, I think, enabled. You can put your doubts in chats. Okay, Prashant is left, I think. Okay, Hari Mohan Nath, you can also unmute yourself.
Hello, sir. I'm audible.
Yeah, Hari, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to ask that in this field, like the courses offered, like the paper on the CV, there's no list of courses offered. Like if you are applying for the course, if you want to apply like the what the courses that we have done, so that company can see that we have knowledge in this. Like if I have some A minus in some courses, so there's no option like courses offered in that area. So is there any need to apply for the courses offered field, or where should we apply if we want to write that courses offered section? Thank you.
Okay, right. So thank you, Hari, for bringing this up. I was actually, this has almost slipped my mind. So, one other thing that you could add in the CV, so this is important to note, is that if you do not have, if you still have some space left after projects, internships, and PORs, ECAs, whatever you want to highlight, you can include a section on technical skills as to what kind of softwares you're familiar with. So this I did in my placement CV as well and in my internship CV. So I tried to highlight what were the softwares. So I knew ANSYS, ANSYS Fluent, ANSYS Workbench, or SolidWorks and other CAD modeling software. So anything that you've learned, even in your first year, if I think most of you must have done MCP 100, MCP 101, and then AutoCAD or FreeCAD, some kind of software you must have used. So that definitely comes in uh, that section. And then again, there are always languages that you could write that you're familiar in C++, Python, Java, or MATLAB, you know. So this definitely might be of use to some recruiters. So you can always include the technical section skills. I think that is available in the OCS portal by default when you try to make your CV. So you can choose that. You can choose to display that as well. Answering your original question as to courses offered. So on the second page of your CV, which is actually where the PORs and ECAs by OCS are verified and are visible. So there, all the courses that you have done, you have the option to show that in your CV. So on the second page, if the interviewer turns over leaf, they can see the courses that you have done. So you can display whatever courses that you want to write. And then if you have, let's say, a special grade that you said like A minus or something, so you can, I mean, so usually I have not seen anyone mention it that way. So that's why I said if you have received, let's say, an LOR from the professor saying that this student performed really well in my course, then definitely you should, that is something you should write. But just an A minus grade is not something I think is really worth mentioning, especially. So courses offered are visible on the second page, answering again. And if you have an LOR for excellent performance in the course, then please go ahead and write it with the consent of the professor.
Uh, okay, so Aditya Gupta, you can unmute yourself.
Yes. So what about external courses like जो आपने Coursera से किए या फिर what about internships जिनके certificates available होता है? What about them? Should you include them?
So what kind of courses and internships are you talking about? So are they related to the core field or any data
Eh,
analytics course or something like that?
No, core field. They are
Courses,
related
okay.
to core field. Yeah, courses related to core field, and
So you could include this in a scroll. So it could be a single line that I have completed a certification course with name this with top 5% rank or whatever, and then you can attach the certificate as a proof for that. Apart from that, if that external course had a project or something, so a lot of analytics, data analytics and something, or even core, there might be sort of a literature review sort of thing, which could be a part of the graded curriculum. Then you can write it as a project, obviously. And internships, too, yes, you can always include. So do you have any specific internship that you are talking about?
I mean, I don't currently have.
Hmm.
I'm a, I'm a first year, right? All right. So
Okay. Okay.
yes,
Hath, you
I
can definitely write. I mean, if you have sort of those things, it can be included in a scholastic section, or if it is something more substantial, if you need 2 or 3 lines to describe it, you can write it in the project section. Works anyway.
yeah, and let's say I'm applying for just a core field,
Hmm.
and let's say I'm applying for X role, but
Hmm.
then I have done projects which are not directly related to X,
Hmm.
but Y, and let's say मैं जैसे मैं electrical का हूँ. So let's
Hmm.
say I want to go into, let's say, control systems, but
Okay.
I've done projects not in control systems, but let's say in communications or something else.
That is all
So
right.
should
That is
you,
completely all right. So the CV is sort of a general piece of paper, so you cannot tailor it to every company's needs or roles, and that they understand as well. So you can write any general projects related to the field. That is not a problem.
all right. And how do you verify? I mean, जैसा आपने बोला, the OCS verifies whatever you have done. And how will they verify your technical skills कि मुझे answers आता है या फिर RTM आता है, anything?
या प्रोजेक्ट्स आर नॉट वेरीफाइड क्योंकि वो इंटरव्यूअर खुद ही वेरीफाई कर लेता है इन सम सेंस, तो इसलिए ओसीएस को नहीं करना पड़ता उसे. सो प्रोजेक्ट्स फेक कर सकते हो, डजंट मैटर, बट फिर इंटरव्यू में अगर पकड़े गए देन दैट इज अ बिगर चैलेंज. यू कैनॉट बेल योर सेल्फ आउट. तो फिर वैसे भी मतलब इंटरव्यू नहीं क्रैक होगा. सो ओसीएस डजंट रियली केयर प्रोजेक्ट्स में क्या लिखा है तुम लोग ने, बिकॉज यू हैव टू टेक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी.
Right. And आपने एक और प्रोजेक्ट हाईलाइट किया था रेड में, which was the neural network वाला. उसमें क्या इशू था?
ओके, तो लेट मी शेयर माय स्क्रीन अगेन. गिव मी वन सेकंड. राइट, कौन सा वाला है इसमें से?
The last one, nearest neighbor image classifier.
I think last one wala, I mean, that is all right. It's just sort of a jargon wise kya tha ki isme there seems to be a lot of jargon. So I just want you to know what you're writing. So otherwise, the construction wise, it is all right. So if you have co-authored something, I would prefer that you just write it like above and not below. So nearest neighbor classifier, you write the co-authored thing above, and then what you did in the project. So
Right.
formatting issue tha, content wise, it's all right. And
Right.
jargon, of course.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
sure.
Uh, okay. So, Preksha Mishra, go ahead, ask the question.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, Preksha.
Hey, so I wanted to ask, where exactly should we mention the LORs we've received from professors?
So you can write it in the scholastic achievement section, I think, as a single point.
Oh, okay.
Again, I would like to reiterate that just if possible, take the permission of the prof, because I have seen professors getting angry at students advertising their LORs without their permission in CVs. So if possible, if you know the prof is friendly and so on, then you can take your own call. But if you think that things might get hard, just drop in a mail or something and then go ahead from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Utkarsh, you can ask a question.
सर आई वांटेड टू आस्क कि एलओआर मेंशन करते टाइम उसको कितने अच्छे से यू कैन एडवर्टाइज मतलब किस तरीके की लाइंस होनी चाहिए एंड एलओआरस को रेलेवेंट कैसे बनाना है बिकॉज जैसे एक प्रॉफ था उनका एलओआर वाज अबाउट वन ऑफ माय कोर्सेज और वो थोड़ा सा इन जनरल सा था मतलब आई डोंट नो कैसे उसको डालना है
थोड़ा कैसा सा था, सॉरी?
मतलब मेरा कोर्स था मार्केट एंड ट्रेंड्स एनालिसिस उस पे सर ने मेरे को एलओआर दिया एंड
हम्म
मेरे को पता नहीं उसको मैं कैसे डालूं सीवी में
सो मतलब आईआईटी का ही कोर्स था ना?
हाँ सर
हाँ, तो what you can do is कि received LOR from Professor X for top 5%, top 10% performance in this course, like something like that, which shows that you have done well in the course and which is why you have received the LOR. So why you have received the LOR ये बताना है मतलब बेसिकली ये मेरा परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा था, मैं टॉप 5 में था, टॉप 2 में था, ग्रेड वाइज या कुछ भी वाइज।
अच्छा ठीक है सर ओके थैंक यू
या
Okay, Preetham, please ask your doubt. Preetham, you can unmute yourself. Okay, I think Preetham is having some trouble unmuting him. Sham Kaushik, you can also ask your doubt.
Hello, sir.
हाय श्याम।
The research intern in the internship section and Sura is a project.
सॉरी सॉरी, आवाज नहीं आ रही क्या?
One second, sir.
हाँ
Do you hear me, sir?
हाँ, या प्लीज गो।
Yes, sir. So I was saying, मैंने रिसर्च इंटर्न फॉरेन रिसर्च इंटर्न एक की है रिमोट एंड मैंने सूरा भी साथ साथ किया है सो कैन आई पुट रिसर्च इंटर्न इन द इंटर्नशिप सेक्शन एंड सूरा इज अ प्रोजेक्ट सो दैट द सीवी डजंट गेट फ्लैग्ड
मतलब फ्लैग होने का रीजन एज फार एज आई कैन सी वुड बी कि दोनों के डेट्स सॉर्ट ऑफ ओवरलैप कर ले, बिकॉज ओसीएस इज वेरी सॉर्ट ऑफ पर्टिकुलर अबाउट दिस थिंग दैट यू शुड नॉट हैव टू थिंग्स गोइंग ऑन पैरेलली. So if you can change the date somehow or manipulate it, I mean, look it out. It's not very hard. तो वैसे करके हाँ, for sure you can write it as a research internship under XYZ Prof. So that is all right. As I mean, would you have any sort of email correspondence or something from the prof which shows that you are actually doing the project,
the Sura project or the internship?
the internship?
Yes, sir, I have the completion certificate.
Yeah. So that will work. So you can definitely put it as an internship then. And also one general point for Sura is that I don't think you can write it as Sura just yet because you have not been awarded the Sura title.
Yes,
So you can just write it as any general project. So don't write it as Sura just yet. I'm not
yes.
sure if you have not been awarded Sura,
Uh,
so just don't write it. Yeah.
yeah, can I step in? I mean, if you want to, you can, but you should be very sure that you know everything about your Sura because you can get a lot of cross question because in a company for core. And I did write it. I did get a lot of questions. I knew it, unfortunately, but my friends did not. So that would definitely leave a bad impression for you.
हाँ
Okay, ma'am.
exactly. Whatever you're writing, just be very sure about what you're writing. Projects में, internships में definitely because those are sort of the crux of your entire CV. Nobody cares कि ओलंपियाड में कौन सा रैंक आया था 8 9 10 ग्रेड में, बट कौन से प्रोजेक्ट में क्या किया है वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो फेक करोगे तो बहुत सोच के फेक करना कि आंसर कर पाओ क्वेश्चंस बॉटम लाइन. एनीवे,
Yes,
Uh,
sir. Thank you.
okay, Avni, feel free to ask your doubt whenever you are ready.
Yeah, so hi, I had a similar kind of doubt. So, um, if I did two projects in my winter vacation under different professors, then do I need to give different dates for those?
और प्रेफरेबली हाँ, मतलब सीवी फ्लैग नहीं करवानी हो तो बेटर है, क्योंकि ऐसा होता है कि फ्लैग होती है तो बताते नहीं है क्यों फ्लैग हुई है, वो खुद सोचना पड़ता है कि क्यों फ्लैग हुई होगी। तो फिर यू हैव टू जस्ट ट्रायल एंड एरर करके इट कुड गेट फ्लैग्ड अ सेकंड टाइम एंड सो ऑन। तो फिर इट्स बेटर कि डेट्स ओवरलैप ना ही हो। अगर इजीली हो रहा हो शिफ्ट करके तो प्लीज डू इट, आई वुड सजेस्ट दैट।
Acha, okay. And the PORs, ECS, and the courses offered, this is the second page, right, of the CV, and the rest is the first page.
सो पीओआर ईसीएस जो ओसीएस वेरीफाइड होंगी वो सेकंड पेज पे आएंगी, एंड देन वॉट एवर कंटेंट यू वांट टू राइट अबाउट इट दैट यू डिड XYZ थिंग्स ड्यूरिंग योर टेन्योर, दैट इज ऑन द फर्स्ट पेज ओनली, एंड कोर्सेज
So
ऑफर्ड
do we
सेकंड
need to
पेजेस।
write it twice?
मतलब ऐसा होता है कि सेकंड पेज इज जस्ट अ प्रूफ कि जो फर्स्ट पेज की पीओआरस हैं वो ऑथेंटिक है, तो उसमें कुछ लिखा नहीं
Okay,
होता कि तुमने क्या काम किया है, कितना किया। और अगर तुम्हें वो दिखाना है तो फर्स्ट पेज पे लिखना पड़ेगा अलग से।
okay, got it. Thanks.
हाँ, ओके।
Okay, Sham, do
Just
you
a
have a
second.
question?
Guys, we'll wrap up in 5 to 10 minutes. So please be quicker in asking your question and briefer in that.
Yes, sir. Can I ask my doubt?
या श्याम।
Sir, if we are doing a research project that is basically a long research project, so that will basically coincide with the duration of other projects that we have done in the courses. So will there be a problem with that?
आई मीन ठीक है, उतना तो चलता है आई थिंक, बट वही है कि बहुत सब्सटेंशियल प्रोजेक्ट्स होंगे, लाइक प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड इंटर्न्स अलग सेक्शन में आ रहा है, तो एंड देन उसमें डेट सेम है तो इट माइट गेट फ्लैग्ड। बट एज फार एज पॉसिबल, मतलब ठीक है 6 महीने की रिसर्च इंटर्न होगी तो उसे 4 महीने की दिखा दो, 5 महीने की दिखा दो। आई मीन ये हैक्स तो सॉर्ट ऑफ तुम खुद कर सकते हो जस्ट टू अवॉइड इट गेटिंग फ्लैग्ड, मतलब आई होप यू
Sir,
गेट इट।
I am doing a research project in IT Delhi itself, and that is I have been doing this since the start of my second year, and it will continue. I will continue to work upon it maybe in my third year also. So
ओके।
that might put a constraint on the dates.
हाँ, तो इतना लंबा प्रोजेक्ट है ना, सो 12 मंथ्स के बदले इफ यू आर समहाउ एबल टू शो इट कि इट एंडेड इन लाइक योर फोर्थ सेमेस्टर, एंड इफ द कोर्स प्रोजेक्ट वाज इन द फोर्थ सेमेस्टर, तो थोड़ा डेट्स आगे पीछे जस्ट डू इट बाय योरसेल्फ। मतलब 12 महीने का 8 महीने हो गया तो आई डोंट थिंक मेक्स अ ह्यूज डिफरेंस, राइट? एज लॉन्ग एज द कंटेंट इज साउंड, ड्यूरेशन इज नॉट वेरी। ड्यूरेशन सिर्फ ओसीएस के लिए कि फ्लैग ना हो, एंड देन यू आर नॉट लेफ्ट थिंकिंग कि यार फ्लैग हुई क्यों, मैंने तो सब सही लिखा है। तो डेट्स की वजह से इसलिए थोड़ा कॉशियस रहो। यू कैन ट्राई डूइंग इट, वैसे फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में जस्ट ट्राई डूइंग इट, एंड देन फ्लैग होती है तो यू कैन चेंज इट। दैट्स व्हाट यू कैन डू।
Okay,
ठीक है।
thank you.
हाँ।
Okay, Utkarsh, go ahead.
एंड सर कोर्स प्रोजेक्ट्स जो होता है उसमें क्या करोगे, मतलब डेट ओवरलैप होगी उसमें, मतलब मेरे जैसे लास्ट सेम के कोर्स प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं तो उनको मैं कैसे डालूं?
कोर्स प्रोजेक्ट्स बहुत ब्रीफ होंगे ना, मतलब यूजुअली लाइक 1 or 2 months मैक्स you'll show. So if you can show your research interns around that, वो 1-2 महीने छोड़ के बेस्ट है। या फिर वही एडवाइस कि ट्राई कर लो डाल के, फ्लैग होती है तो देन यू माइट हैव टू चेंज समहाउ, दैट इज द ओनली सॉल्यूशन।
क्योंकि डेट्स ओवरलैप हो जाएंगी उसमें तो।
हाँ यार, इसका कोई फिक्स सॉल्यूशन नहीं है यार ऑनेस्टली। आई मीन ओसीएस इज सॉर्ट ऑफ अ बिट हिस्ट्री ओनली, क्यों ऐसे नहीं अलाउ करते आई डोंट नो। प्रोजेक्ट्स में तो आई गेस मल्टीपल प्रोजेक्ट्स कैन रन पैरेलली, बट जस्ट टू बी सेफ, otherwise you can try in your first iteration, no?
ओके।
Yeah.
Okay, Shivi.
Hello.
Yeah, hi Shivi.
Yes, sir. Sir, do they also ask questions based on the courses you have written in the second page? And do we need to only write the relevant courses on the second page? For example, it's in mechanical interns, so only mechanical domain project courses.
हाँ, मतलब जरूरी नहीं है, दोनों डाल सकते हो। मतलब जो थोड़े रेलेवेंट नहीं है वो भी डाल सकते हो। लाइक मैंने तो डाल दिए थे सब, एंड देन मतलब 4th ईयर प्लेसमेंट तक तो लाइक बहुत 30-40 कोर्सेज हो जाते हैं, तो यू कैन चूज लाइक 15-20 विच आर टॉप। फिर क्वेश्चंस वो मतलब लीफलेट देख के पढ़ के नहीं पूछेंगे कि सॉलिड मैकेनिक्स किया है तो अब ये बताओ। व्हाट हैपेंड टू मी इन वन, लाइक जैगवार के इंटरव्यू में ही दे वर लाइक कि विच इज योर फेवरेट कोर्स और व्हाट आर द टॉप 2-3 कोर्सेज दैट यू हैव स्टडीड सो फार, ऐसे करके पूछते हैं यूजुअली कि तुम बताओ तुम्हारा फेवरेट कोर्स क्या है, हम उस पर पूछते हैं। ऐसे रैंडमली तो वो भी एक्सपेक्ट नहीं करते कि तुम्हें हर कोर्स का हर कुछ पता होगा, बट हाँ, दैट्स हाउ इट यूजुअली इज।
All right, sir. Thank you. Sir, scholastic achievements में when we mention NTSC and all, if we don't have much of them for our college, so would there be any issue या फिर हम college के courses की achievements डालें like A और A minus वाली?
मतलब ए माइनस यूजुअली लोग डालते नहीं, मैं वही कह रहा हूँ कि अगर एल ओ आर वगैरह मिला हो अच्छे परफॉर्मेंस के लिए तो यू कैन पुट, बट ए माइनस तो बहुत लोगों को मिलता है, मतलब यू कैन इमेजिन राइट, तो इट्स नॉट अ डिस्टिंग्विशर एज सच। तो अगर 5 पॉइंट्स लिख रहे हो समहाउ लेट से 4 पॉइंट्स लिख रहे हो, तो एटलीस्ट दो तो कुछ तो कॉलेज के रेलेवेंट हो, कोई स्कॉलरशिप हो जो रिसेंटली मिली है, कुछ भी मतलब इतने इंस्टीम में स्कॉलरशिप्स होते हैं, और कोई कॉन्फ्रेंस में एक्सेप्टेंस आया है हार्वर्ड की एच पेयर हो गई या कोई भी, तो सम सॉर्ट जो थोड़े रीसेंट हो, एंड देन एनटीएससी या फिर केवीपीवाई जेई एडवांस भी लोग डालते हैं, so that is all okay only, but yeah, preferable के लिए recent डालो जितना हो।
Okay, Yashika.
Thank you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, please.
So it might sound a little repetitive, but I am doing my Surah, which started in mid-May, and I'm also doing an online research intern, which started early May. So as of now, I'm working on both of them simultaneously. So how exactly am I supposed to present them?
So both of them started in May, you're saying. So you can sort of show कि one started in April or something. So two, I mean, I don't know. So March say present, you can write one. You can write May say present one.
But
Sort of the
Surah
dates.
starts in the summer break, and the online research intern which I have, the offer letter for that says it ranges from May to July.
Yeah. So Surah में you will not write it as Surah, right? Because approved नहीं हुआ as such.
So that is a project I'm writing.
So you can show that it is just some normal project you are pursuing externally under IIT Prof. Right? You don't need to write Surah, I guess. So
Yeah, so
you can
I
go
won't be writing it
April.
under Surah, but it's just that two things will have the same date for the same month.
I guess that is all right. I mean, मार्च एक करो अप्रैल से प्रेजेंट तक, दूसरा मई से प्रेजेंट तक या जो भी, क्योंकि ऑफर लेटर में अगर वही लिखा है तो यू कैन नॉट चेंज इट, राइट? सो just do that, and if lag होती है तो just see. I mean, it shouldn't be much of an issue, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, all of these are minor things. Usually इस सब पे इतना criticize नहीं करते वो लोग, but ठीक है, I trust you guys to figure it out. हो जाता है सब।
तो मेरा एक क्वेश्चन था कि मतलब जो इंटर्न में डाल रखा है वो प्रोजेक्ट में भी डाल सकते हैं सेम प्रोजेक्ट, कि इंटर्न को एक्सप्लेन कर दिया कि वहाँ पे किया था एंड प्रोजेक्ट में फिर डाल दिया जाए, इंटर्न में ही अच्छे से प्रोजेक्ट समझाना।
मतलब एक सेकेंड, इंटर्न में कुछ काम असाइन किया था उसको यू ऑल्सो वांट टू प्रेजेंट एज अ प्रोजेक्ट?
हाँ, क्योंकि वो बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट है तो इंटर्न में शायद उतनी डेप्थ नहीं आएगी जैसे प्रोजेक्ट में आ सकती है।
यार रिपीटेटिवनेस तो अवॉइड करनी चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से। अगर सेम चीज है तो फिर इंटर्न में ही लिखो, थोड़ा ज्यादा लाइन लेके लिख ले, 4-5 लाइन में लिख दे कि इफ इट इज अ वेरी इम्पैक्टफुल प्रोजेक्ट, बहुत आउटकम है, बहुत कंटेंट है, तो लाइन ज्यादा ले लो, बट रिपीटेड कंटेंट शुड बी लाइक अ नो फॉर मी।
ठीक,
हाँ,
थैंक
सो एक ही जगह लिखना, बट तो डिटेल में लिखना थोड़ा ज्यादा, बस दैट्स फाइन।
Okay, so looks like we don't have any more questions. Sir, do you
Yeah,
have
we need to
any
wrap up.
final words for participants today?
नो, आई थिंक वही है, बेसिक टिप्स याद रखो, फॉर्मेटिंग वगैरह परफेक्ट रखो, स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स नहीं होनी चाहिए, बेसिक चीज़ें। वाइट ब्लैंक्स बहुत एक्सेसिव मत रखना, थोड़ा मतलब एस्थेटिकली प्लीजिंग लगे, यू नो व्हाट दैट मीन्स राइट। सीवी खोल के एकदम ब्लैंक ब्लैंक दिख रहा है, बहुत भरा हुआ दिख रहा है, क्रैम्ड एकदम, ये सब भी नहीं। सो जस्ट डू ऑल द जनरल थिंग्स राइट, फॉर्मेटिंग थिंग्स राइट, एंड देन रिपीटेड चीजें नहीं, वो सब। एंड देन आई थिंक इंडिविजुअल सेक्शंस का तो वी हैव कवर्ड। सो आई थिंक दैट इज ऑल फ्रॉम माई साइड, एंड विश यू गाइज ऑल द बेस्ट। 30th डेडलाइन है, तो आई थिंक यू विल नीड टाइम टू do all of those things. So good luck and don't stress too much about it. Even during the actual interviews and everything, that is important. So this is just a part of the process. अगले साल वापस most लोगों के साथ placements के वक्त भी होगा ये, and that time will be much more wiser. So just take care and just don't stress too much about it. Good luck everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you
Okay,
so much,
thank you,
sir.
sir.